Alright, good morning viewers, it's John Lee here. I'm here this morning to cover one of the matches from the round of 16 of the Crazyhouse World Championship that's currently going on. Unfortunately, I was not able to catch the series between Bugzilla and allyouneedisluft live, but what I'm going to do is run through these games in real time and basically commentate them as if I was watching live. So for those viewers who don't yet know the result of this match, I'm not going to reveal what the result is, but a little bit about these two players. allyouneedisluft, better known as 11teen from Fix, has been a very strong Crazyhouse player for many years. Also Bugzilla, who's actually a good friend of mine in Sydney. He's been playing, just as long. So I mean, these two players, they know the game for more than 10 years. Yeah, I think maybe allyouneedisluft was seeded number 2 in the event, and Bugzilla number 15. But believe me, you shouldn't be looking at the ratings here. This is a close match I'd be expecting. So yeah, we'll go and get into it. So there's a neat function here on Lichess. You can select real-time play. So I'm going to watch this game. We've got Bugzilla as black. He played a French. They played this quite quickly actually. An early exchange on e4. So white's rerouted the knight to g5. White thinking for a while. Okay, this is not a familiar opening position to me, but yeah, I'd say dynamically this looks equal. So I don't mind as black that white's consumed use of the pawn here. I think it's good that black's got an extra pawn. But then, white seems a little bit more forward in development. So white can't just come out with bishop d3 here because pawn at e4. So I imagine that's why a bit of thought going to the next move. d4 is now also a target for this knight. So yeah, I mean, White's been able to knock the queen around, but hasn't really got something immediate out of this opening. So in this situation, I think, well, I think White's determined that is that to get a little bit aggressive here. In fact, maybe something like bishop e3 before. I feel like knight f7 is a practical play, and I feel like black's a little bit better here. But honestly, I didn't see a better move for white at that time. So queen g6, the only square for the black queen. I think black should just capture here, knight e4. I suppose white's going to follow up with pawn at h5. So yeah, it's not straightforward here. I mean, knight e4, pawn h5. Another idea is potentially queen e4. Oh, he's just gone pawn f3. I think black should just let the knight fall here and potentially keep grabbing material knight d4 or play knight at h4. But black's got a few pieces in hand. Oh wow, knight d2. So Bugzilla's a kind of player that likes safety. I think what he decided to do here is eliminate these two bishops, which are both useful pieces. And in taking this, he's given up the queen, but now there isn't anything in in black's half. That's a white piece. So yeah, I was thinking knight at h4 potentially. You know, black's got to be quite sharp here and not let, you know, white develop an attack too easily. Bishop at f6 is good to cover the entry points for the knight. So I actually preferred knight e5 a little bit more than knight d4 because knight d4 is stepping in the way of the queen. And knight e5 is also good for covering f7 and d7. It's a minor point, but you can see now here white has something to play for. Oh yeah, I'm liking black a little bit less now. So Luft, I'm just going to call him Luft for now. It's done well to just progress pieces into black's territory. And now, you know, black's on the back foot and isn't really making ground here. So it's a little bit tricky. The middle game is really critical there. I think black actually just has to hold back for a little bit. Now it's getting decisive. Now it's clearly better for white. But black actually kind of had to roll up in a hedgehog for a little while. I mean, yeah, there's queen at f7 and bishop at d7. Sorry, queen at f7 and queen at d7, both threats. This rook is now hanging. This should be all over from here. Now, unfortunately, I can't see what the actual times are. Yeah, nice finish. So yeah, that's the first game. So all you need is left up 1-0. But I suppose if I just roll back for a moment where I think the game got critical, I actually felt after this point where Bugzilla chose to sacrifice the queen, I think black is actually a little bit better here. I think bishop at f6 is fine. Knight d4 is okay, but I mean knight e5 I felt was potentially better. You're hitting c4, you're getting knight at h4, so you still get the same threats you're getting with knight d4, but this knight is just not getting hit directly. You know, white can continue by capturing, but black still has plenty of defense. It is still a game, don't get me wrong. It's not like this was winning for black immediately. I just feel it was a little bit better than the outcome. And there's still plenty to play for here, but you know, black for some time just has to keep consolidating till white runs out of material, and then, you know, hit with knight at h4, start making ground on c4. So look, that was a good first win from All You Need Is Left. I like here how he's pressured d4 and he's been able to get a result. Maybe even here black has some other plays, but maybe defending with bishop e7. But I think white's getting forward with d5 and making holes in e6, and knight e5 just might have made a small difference. All right, so we'll go to the next game. So all you need is left takes starter series 1-0. Let's move to the next game. Okay, so we've got Bugzilla as white here. So second match, e4, e5. Okay. Stock standard e4, e5. I actually think all you need is left knows these lines very well. So, but both of them know things in this line. But I expect, particularly for this event as well, I think Luft will come in, you know, well prepared into a line like this. So h6 is interesting. That's not your standard move. That's just preventing an early bishop g5. Okay, so white's made the trade-off on d5, and as white here, I'd be looking at this diagonal and what can I do with this square on g6. But there's not really enough pieces in hand for this to be decisive yet. I think what black needs to be concerned about immediately is this d4 push. So in this case, he's tried to cover up on the diagonal. Now this is a nice move. Knight at f5 is sometimes better played after black expends a move with bishop g4 or otherwise bishop e6. That way you're not, if that knight's captured, black's actually consumed 2 moves to capture it. So sometimes you'll see some of the stronger players do not delay a move like knight at f5. Okay, so d5 played to block off this diagonal. And now white's trying to make some gradual progress by putting pressure on the pieces that are defending d5. Alright, going dynamic straight away, e4 push. Okay, this is going to turn sharp fast because the queens can come off, and then pretty quickly you can have some trades happen, and then it's about who can get in first with the checks. So yeah, some careful calculation required here. Alright, Bugzilla's going for the trade-off. So I'm not yet decided. I mean, takes and bishop f6, ef, and I can't see all the clear checks to mate just yet for white. White will have an extra knight in hand, and black will be threatening mate with things like knight at e2, knight at h3. So white would have to play checks like bishop f7. Let me wind back exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about bishop f6, ef, and I'm now looking to see if white has forced mate or not. Because pawn at h7 would run out of pieces. You just have king h7 and the checks will run out. So I'm looking at how white can sustain that. That's why I think white's gone deep into thought here. Is seeing if bishop f6 is beneficial or not. So bishop f6, ef, he's gone for it. I have a feeling bishop f7 may be critical. Takes, pawn at h7. Oh, it's so sharp. Is bishop f7 mating? That's the big question. There's a lot of lines to calculate. Queen at g4. So I mean, this is typical Bugzilla. You say, well, I'm just going to stay safe. And that stops the knight at e2, knight at h3 moves and allows white to continue the attack. And putting this queen here actually allows white to control the whole king side very well. Okay. Bishop f2. Basically, I think from here, if black wasn't to go full hard with the attack, I think white's just claiming that he's stronger because he controls the king side with the queen. So rather than capture his gone for the sidestep, I think the idea was if the king was to remain here, you'd have rook f2 and queen at e1. The idea of knight at g3 here is to block the defense of g2, but I don't think black's going to get a direct attack out of this. White's too well covered. Knight at e3 is at an entry point. So he's having to try to go around. Now if queen takes, pawn at f3 is dangerous, so king takes h3 is accurate. And now black's running out of pieces. This is a bit desperate. I'm calling it a win for white from here. So look, I like Bugzilla's move, queen g4, queen at g4. It just controlled the king side. Maybe bishop f7 was some kind of obscure forced mate, but it came with risk. So okay, black's resigned here. There's too many checks. I mean, if the king backs off, pawn at g6, king gets in the open, it'll be all over. I'm going to wind it back here. I think queen at g4 is just fine. That's a good practical way to take the win here. You know, it might be questionable if opening up with e4 and allowing the queen trade was really a sensible idea or not, because white gets the first move here, and this is where the pieces are all in hand. The move I was looking at was actually bishop f7. And I'll explain why bishop f7, because pawn h7 just doesn't go anywhere. White's now short of a pawn. But imagine if white could take this pawn and play pawn at g6. The trouble is white can't play bishop f7 now, because knight at h3 would be mating. If you take queen at g2 is mate. Otherwise you've got a smothered mate. So that's just a classic mating pattern. So the idea is to change the move order here and play bishop f7. So that if rook f7, you now have pawn in hand on g6. Black king can't go to h8 because of queen h7 mate, so we'd have to steer this way. And then I guess you take the rook with check. If the king takes, it'll be mate. So that's the idea of bishop f7, but that's only one line. You'd have to go exploring all the others. So from here, I mean, you can't take with the king. Let's just rule some moves out. That's mate in one. You can't go this way because you get mated like that. You can't play king h8 because of knight at g6. And then the rook gets captured. And then again, you've got the same mating idea. So okay, rook f7 is forced. And then pawn h7. Now you can't run the king to f8 because of queen at g8. We already saw king takes h7 was looking like it would get mated. We'll just confirm if there's any other line. I mean, can't take this, we already saw. If you run king h7, you got queen at g6, king h8, rook h7 mate. So again, if king here, yeah, you'll be mated. So after pawn at h7, that's lost. The only move is king h8, to be precise. And here I think is where the knight at g6 trick works. Now again, you've seen if the rook captures, then there'll be just enough to mate. So king can't come to h8 because of queen at h7 mate. It would have to go to g8, and then pawn at h7. So if king h8, queen at g8 mates, because this knight blocks off the rook. And if the king takes here, then queen at g8 still mates because the bishop covers off this any escape square. So I'm concluding here that well back here, bishop takes f7 is actually a forced mate. Intuitively, that's what I was thinking, but I mean, in the live game, you know, you've only got a few minutes on the clock. I think queen at g4, which is a move that was played plain and practical, stops the attacks from happening. I think that's a fine way to take the game. Improvements from black might have been pawn at g5. That just helps stop the pieces moving forward. If white takes, then black at least gets a shot at the white king. Yeah, white's probably still better. But yeah, other moves would be queen f3, where black now starts to get knight at h4 potentially. Might be able to clear here. Yeah, there's practical chances for black, and you know it's not an easy road for white to finish. I think black attacking here probably moves in too early, too fast, and then white has all the material. So okay, bishop f7 maybe a bit more precise, but still a great game. I mean, really high quality matches. Let's get on to the third match. So we're at 1-1 here. Okay, so we've got Luft with the white pieces again. Okay, going for that French again. Early exchange on e4, so same opening, so I expect it will move faster this time. Now, Laughter's having a pause here. He played knight g5 pretty quickly last time, so I figure he wasn't happy with the opening position he got as white. I think knight g5 is okay. It's pawn at c4 here, I feel, consumes white's pawn without giving him much progress. So he's changed here. Pawn at e5 instead of pawn at c4. Straight in with knight e4. So this is lovely. I've not seen this opening position before. Both players just have to play from here. Bishop d3 looks natural. I think there's just some tactics. So even if bishop d3, you'll have knight g5, and then white couldn't play knight g5 because of queen g2. If bishop d3, knight g5, bishop g5, there was a pawn at e4 fork here. So okay, he traded the knight, and now black's trying to be active. So clearly, if the knight moves, then queen g2 is a problem. So I think white has to hit the black queen. But if black's going into this, he's probably prepared to give up 2 pieces for the queen. But yeah, it's not easy. I mean, if white even plays knight at g5, black can just kind of slip back to d5, try to maintain this pin on the g2 pawn. Here I play bishop b4. Yeah. Okay, here white said, I'm going to part with a piece, but I'm going to hit your queen with bishop f3 and then achieve safety with a nice pawn structure. So this is a bit of a piece gambit from white, which is quite playable in Crazyhouse from a practical perspective. Now what's interesting here is black's declined that piece and has instead tried to sacrifice a piece to get initiative. I don't know if this pawn out here is well supported enough. So yeah, there's a weakness there, but you know, white can consolidate, and then white's next play would be to undermine this pawn on h3. It's just a lone caveman sitting out there. White might want to cover this c3 pawn though, so that material isn't hanging. So I think white's being careful to consider here. He's thinking maybe parting with this pawn on c3. I would have considered bishop d2 as well to hold all the pieces together. White wasn't under immediate danger from this one pawn, and then this regular defender on c8, this bishop is blocked off. So black here is getting a couple extra pawns for his trouble. And white's fine. I mean, white's very well developed, has all the pieces on the king side. Black's just got a few more pawns in hand. So it's still plenty to play for here. This is a battle of the pawns versus the pieces. So black has to, rather than put pieces on, I think black needs to try to make a structure on white's dark squares. Because these pawns aren't going to be immediately useful if you can only put on one at a time. But I'm fine with him chasing material on the back rank too, that's fine. Knight e2 looks good. Queen e2. Oh. Well, this is alright, but I thought queen e2 was... Oh, if queen e2, queen g7, then that was opening up things. So this is fine. So black's basically converted one of his pawns into a rook on the back rank. And yeah, this position has opened up again. I'm starting to like black a little better. But now, yeah, I think rook g7 immediately would have been better. This is still fine, as long as queen h8 can't be played. I mean, black's covered that nicely. That's really critical. You can't let queen at h8 get played. And then white all the activity on the back. Yeah, so at the pace white's moving, well, I can't see the actual clocks from the game. I get the sense that white was short on time here. So this is some classic Bugzilla. He's just kept his king safe, and and shorty's still got play. Yeah, so I mean, white's just pre-moving here. This must have been running out of time. Yep, so white ran out of time there. I felt white was better, and all the way back. I mean, I'm going too slow doing it that way. I felt from this point, knight at g3, bishop at e4. I thought white's better here, and maybe white could have defended this pawn here and not allowed this strong pawn chain to go. He pretty much sacrificed this pawn chain to just take this pawn on h3. But I feel like that pawn is there for the taking later on. I mean, knight g5, bishop g4. It's very hard for black to defend this pawn on h3. So after that, you know, it's not that black was winning here anyway. I think white was just fine. But it gave black some options to play for with this being cleared and more pawns in hand. And Bugzilla was able to make some play from that. So, okay, Bugzilla's up 2-1. We'll go to the next match. Okay, Bugzilla back with the white pieces. Let's get the game going, real time. Okay, different opening. E4, knight c6, e4, e5 was played in the first. And this is a gambit line. So white plays a gambit. I play this myself. Bishop b5, knight ge2. So that this knight's covered if you lose the b2 pawn. Yeah, objectively, I actually think this opening might be a little bit better for black, just because black has the residual advantage of the extra pawn. But wow, that's pretty crazy. That's wow, just an early queen sack here. I'm not sure if that's justified. I mean, knight at e5 is going to allow white to grab this pawn. But yeah, I mean, this is very practical from white. Theoretically, I think this should be better for black. I mean, I'll tell you personally, if I was playing All You Need Is Luft, you know, Luft is not a player I'd want to bluff against. I think King E8's right. I mean, if there's some tough lines to play through, you know, a bit of an uncomfortable king position, I'll back Luft to find the right moves. So I'm not fond of Queen D7 at this level. Luft will come out on top if you play Knight C6. You know, there's moves like Queen G4, Bishop at F3 helps too much. Maybe Knight C6, Queen B7 is sensible. I just don't feel white's getting enough compensation for the queen here. Okay, he's going to chase the c6. Oh no, he's doing it this way. Now Queen G4 is more dangerous because white doesn't have a bishop on F3. I mean, maybe he's planning pawn at B7 to continue the attack. So this is quite wise. I mean, black's just capturing a piece, getting the queen out of danger and attacking tempo, and meanwhile defends the B7 square. From here, black just attacks. White's attack or initiative has just been reduced. So I expect Luft to win from here. I think the opening decision is a little bit loose from Bugzilla. And yeah, but Queen at h1 is strong. I mean, black could even be planning. Look, if black can cover e2, then even Queen c3 and knight at f3 becomes a dangerous play. But yeah, black's in a situation here where he doesn't have to blow up white with a sacrifice. I think a move like bishop at f3 is just sensible. You just build up a little bit. Now queen at f1 becomes a potential threat. The term we'd say is that black can basically just sit on white and let him stew here. Luft won't take any risks from here. He's just calculating out the moves to see if there's a force made. Pawn at g2, king e1. I think even something like g1 queen is a nice move, which brings this knight away and allows queen c3. Yeah, there might be some kind of mate later after there's a block. Knight at g2, king f1, knight e3 takes. Pawn at g2, king f2, rook f1 takes. I don't think you even need to see that far ahead. You can just play. Oh, he's gone straight for queen c3. And then promote here, which is fine as well. Knight at c4 is... well, even if black's not mating, white's not getting an attack anytime soon. So black can even play knight d1 here. Well, I mean, sorry, black does need to be careful if knight takes e6 potentially. So I think black's been sensible to cover up f7, so there's no kind of knight e6, queen at f7 sack. So yeah, I just feel like at this level, black's king is so much safer. I mean, knight e6 is probably a go here, but then king e7 should also be fine. This is the idea I spoke about. Now white's got something to play for. This is dangerous. Oh, black's allowed too much here. I mean, queen g4 should be played, and I think pawn at f5 was actually... I don't know if that was stronger. Maybe black's just okay because it's hard to hit black on f8. Yeah, so black still ends up winning here, but against knight e6, maybe king e7 was avoiding some of the complications. So queen at a3 is mate in 1. Alright, that finishes the game as well. So love takes it. I mean, deserved to win that game. I think the queen d7 sack from white wasn't appropriate. Okay, so we're at 2-all. Close match. We're on the 5th match now. We've got Luft is white, Bugzilla is black. d5, e6, okay. So this I also normally won't play. I mean, I'd like to get this bishop out before locking it up, but it's Bugzilla's choice to play. Maybe he wants to keep this as a defender behind his own lines, or push for an e5 at some stage. Knight f5. So this is still sensible, and you know, I trust Bugzilla with positional ideas. He's a good positional player, largely in chess, but also in Crazyhouse. He knows what he's doing. Now, white's going to come in with e4 at some stage. I was considering knight g3, f5 even to consolidate e4. There's some interesting opening ideas here. Those are just rock solid for both sides. E4's a natural push, and let's see where this goes. I like that. He's positionally just said, well, I'm going to improve my bishop this way. And grabbing the pawn on f5 isn't really that attractive, because there's a lot of remaining pressure here, and then there'll be lots of pieces traded off. So I think this is wise. It's not allowing black to unlock a lot of potential on the light squares just yet. Pawn at e3 is an idea for black. Takes to make some weaknesses. So yeah, I think it's suitable. White hits this black knight. That's important. So this is a middle game of Crazyhouse where the game is really won and lost, and it's a little bit more positional than directly tactical. Here Bugzilla is trying to open up the dark squares. Maybe bishop at h6 is wise. That's a move I'd expect from him. Keeps the king very safe. Redden's pawn e3. Okay, he's going this way. I think black's got compensation for his piece. I like black here. I think if takes bishop at h4, I like here. He's gone straight for bishop at g3. So if captures queen h4, king g2, knight f4 check, king g1, knight at e2 would be mate. So that's a poison piece, this bishop, at the moment. Yeah, wow. No, Bugzilla. Good mate of mine. We don't always play the same way, but I like how he's played this one. This is queen h4 here is really doing well. He's made an attack out of nothing. I wonder if all you need is luft has in some way allowed it. Hard to say. The difference would only be between king f2 and rook f2. He just absolutely pushed through there. That was really impressive. Because if you were white here, I mean, I don't think that's a bad move. I was really impressed. Even here, I'm not feeling that threatened by black. You know, maybe rook f2 is preferable here. Just helps keep the king back. And then you got to allow black to trade a few more things. I mean, black's still going to try to come in with different pathways, but it felt like with the king on f2, black got an open hit on white. Maybe this should actually be taken with the knight. The trouble was the dark squares got too weak. And even here, I don't mind black. But look how quickly he came in. That was really impressive. Pawn f4, bishop g3. If the white king runs this way, then it's still very tough for white. Black's so safe. Classic Bugzilla. I didn't even really see where white went horribly wrong there. I'm only picking up, you know, maybe rook f2. Maybe here you can play pawn h2 to defend the black squares. But lovely game. It's just some positional brilliancy from Bugzilla. Okay, so Bugzilla up 3-2. At this stage, I find it difficult to pick the winner here. You know, Luft is an exceptional player. This is my kind of opening. Maybe Bugzilla's had a look at some of my lines. So here, I mean, white's got very good development. Black's only a move behind, but has an extra pawn, and this queen's a little bit in the open. So yeah, it's a bit of how practical can white play, and how accurately can black play to hold on to this pawn and make it worthwhile. Yeah, this can turn sharp if the players decide to go knight d4, queen d4. Because this bishop is bearing down on h2, yeah, so I don't think it's wise for white to go for the trades just yet, so that makes sense. Yeah, I'd say Luft has been informed. Bugzilla has not played the game as much in recent years, but in the last month or so he's been practicing a lot. Wow, queen d4 sack, okay. The idea being bishop at e5 and trying to start an attack, and black claiming relative safety. Now white could actually give the queen back with something like this, but I think white's better to hold on to the queen and play. Now I like Luft here. Luft's going to really squeeze the juice out of this position. So he's even playing an intermezzo, an in-between move. He's trying to dislodge the queen off this pawn, which is still defended by the bishop. The idea is that white played queen g4 so that after bishop h2, king h1, something was under threat here. So Levanteen's been really resourceful in using the defense of this pawn to knock the queen away before going for this. And now he gets pawn at h3. He's making these are really subtle moves that make the maximum resource out of these pieces, because he's already sacrificed the queen. He's got to now prove it's worthwhile. He's threatening mate now with pawn at g2, so he's making use of the pawns. And yeah, knight at h4 isn't going to follow up, so white's got to be very accurate here. I don't think white can counter-attack with queen d7. This bishop covers e5, so you can't sack the knights. So this is the only move. He's actually got to play the king to the open. Oh, bishop h3. White is in big trouble here. Oh, yuck. Oh, this can't be good. No, bishop g2. No, knight g4 is covered. I think just takes and make the rook. Oh, I'm feeling like black might have mate from here. Oh, Luff knows he's got compensation for that queen sack from here. He's just going to make sure he capitalizes on it. So he could... Now he can't play pawn at g4 because now queen d7 is dangerous. King takes, knight at c5, takes, knight at e5. King has to go back somewhere and then the queen's getting in. So the question is knight at f3 takes, rook h2, king g4. This is pinned, can't move it. Ooh. Maybe he's seen deeper, maybe he's seen he can defend it. I think now black's in trouble. What's going on? Oh, was there a mate here, or has Luff seen deeper and found a way to defend? These guys, and you can see how sharp it is that the game can turn. I think knight at d5 is dangerous there. I like knight at d5 better, but I could be wrong because of ed takes would allow the bishop to defend. I think black has survived the attack now. That's why I like the knight on d5, because it prevented the king from getting to g8. So Luft is going to take this one, but I was feeling it was questionable if white could get in. Yeah, this is desperation. This is all over. I'm gonna spend a little bit of time going back on this one because I just felt it was unclear. Okay, fascinating game here. So Luft played a queen sacrifice. Well, back here. This is where things got interesting. I felt like Luft could try to grind this game, and so I've got the extra pawn, and it'll be a long grind. Not necessarily practical because you have to play a long game and then drain your clock as well. He's made a practical decision to play aggressively. I don't mind queen g4, but bishop at f5 actually asks questions. Another alternative was for white to just give the queen back. And I don't know if that's much better. I think so. Queen g4, interesting. Bishop at f5. I think queen a4 is alright. Now, here black just seems to get the initiative so fast. This bishop on f5 is so helpful. It makes me now question if queen g4 is getting made to look a bit silly with bishop at f5. After takes, this is really accurate play. Pawn at f3. The reason why pawn at f3 is stronger than bishop h3 is it denies the bishop defending with bishop at f3. Pawn at f3, suddenly you can't put a bishop either on h3 or f3. You can't put it on f1. And bishops are really good defenders around kings. So this is a really, what looks like a subtle move, but it's actually really critical. It's just squeezing out all possible defensive squares for a bishop to be placed to defend g2. So it forces this, and then now you can't take either because pawn g2. So it's fantastic play from Luft. And I felt like here it should be critical enough that black has a win. Unfortunately, bishop g2 doesn't quite work because while this looks like mate, knight at g4 is thwarted by queen g4. So that's close. So f takes g2, it's right. And this is correct. Now from here, is this just not enough? Rook h2, knight e5, king f4. Now I'm not saying black will get mate here straight away, but this white king is open. And if you could somehow win some material, maybe you're not. I mean, maybe white had just enough to run away. And Luft is good enough to see this. You would actually make a decision here and say, well, you know, great, I've got a double check on the king, but I actually don't think it's enough. So maybe, yeah, it's tough here, but I'm just nervous about queen d7. I feel like even a move like rook at h5 would have been safer. It just covers this, prevents these knight at c5, knight e5 type moves, and it's still attacking the king here. Knight at f3 is now a mate threat, and bishop f1 is also very strong because basically this is a really good multi-purpose move. It's defensive, it's aggressive, and it creates all sorts of attacks all at once. So here I can't see white attacking. You'd have to defend. Maybe even something like bishop at h4 is called for. But then I feel like now black can play bishop f1 with the safety of not being concerned about queen d7 because this is defended. So I think rook at h5 might be an improvement on the game. But let's see if I'm wrong, because pawn at g2 is played. They've allowed this. You know, you saw you didn't have to ask Bugzilla twice. He went straight for this. This is his only play to try to counterattack. Now knight at c5. Let's have a look. Just have a look if this was taken. Knight at e5. The idea is that this knight attacks here. I think what's important to note to the viewers is very important the move order. If you play knight at e5 first, you then allow the black king to shuffle out this way. And the knight's now not on e5 to attack f7. Sure, there's a check here, but as long as black doesn't give a knight for e7, oh sorry, that's actually going to work. Queen f7 is going to make. I'll have to do it this way first. Rook or knight. Well, not so straightforward actually. This is still dangerous. Now I'm just kind of playing without really talking. I'm trying to see all the angles. It's pretty close. Bishop at e7 is dangerous nearly. My point was to say that you should play knight at c5 first, and that this move order is worse. But let's just without going too deep there, step back a moment because I'm going to get sidetracked. But the idea is to play knight at c5 first, so that if bishop c5, it's a much clearer win this way, because now you've got queen f7. That's a key point I'm making, and it's common enough that that'll be made as well. Everything's covered. That's why knight at c5 is played first. Now, if black runs the only other way I think that's sensible, which is this way, queen at d7 won't cut it, but you'd play pawn at d7 in fact. And then from here, there's potential mate threats, and that's important to save the queen as a resource to sacrifice on the back rank. That's not all forced. I mean, black could try running this way. So let's see how that eventuates. And the trouble is here, black can maybe defend this way. I think white's running out of material. So you can see it's very accurate king moves. You can't just go straight to d8 because of queen at d7. You actually have to go king c8 to first force a pawn here, because queen at d7 is a dead end for white. So pawn at d7 force, but then if king b8 you lose, so you got to go here. And from here I feel like maybe black's not getting mated. You can try bishop at g5 first, but black will just keep this e7 square available. And it is critical because here again, if black defends with pawn e7, then queen at c8 would actually mate. So, I mean, I'm probably talking about this like it's too obvious, but I should explain why that's critical. See, that ends up being mated. And it's because this e7 square is not being made available to the king. The difference here is pawn f6, queen c8. You know, king e7 is viable here, but even this way, it just means that white gets that, black gets that extra square here. You can't mate the king, and then it all falls apart for white. But I'm looking at this going, even after knight at c5, knight e5, maybe black was still safe. Okay, so I guess 11 teens played king e7 to then say, well, maybe he thought knight e5 was lost, which is fair enough. I mean, just making quick assessments, you would normally assume that. So here though, pawn f6 I think is correct. I like pawn f6. If not pawn f6, bishop g5. But here I'd actually like to take a moment to think. There's all sorts of ideas here. The reason why I like pawn f6 is it prepares knight at d5, because then f6 is a weakness. And these are really fine points in attacking, because I'll give you an example. If you were to just lead with knight at d5, there might come a point later where you want to play knight f6 if there's king g8, and it's better having a pawn there already. But yeah, I'm actually going to take a moment here. I know I'm spending a lot of time on this game, but I think it's very interesting. White has to attack. There's no doubt about it. The trouble with knight at d5 is there's a nice defensive resource for black, and that this bishop covers d7. So give me a moment here to just think. Yeah, the reason why knight at d5 is strange, if the king backs off, that's going to be mated with pawn d7, and then we've got these ideas of queen e8 sacrifices, and you'll have that back rank mate. But I think black can just take this and just back up to e8 now, and then the pawn at d7 threat is removed. So I still like pawn f6 or bishop at g5. Well, I've not yet decided, but let's say pawn f6 forces black to capture it, because black can't back off the king. That'll just end up badly. There's either a pawn at d7 or f takes g7 check, which will end badly for black. The difference is here, after knight at d5, king e8, this pawn is hanging. But does it actually go anywhere? Let's see. This opens up knight b7. There's now a lot of checks here, so black's got to be careful. There could be pawn at b7. There's practical play in that direction. Black comes this way. Yeah, white's still got practical play here. King e7, knight d5. And now if king d8, queen at f6. Oh, there's so much to look at here. It's like on a knife's edge. The white has play, but the difference between having your attack run out or having black get safe and attack still continuing checks is just so fine. So that's why when I was calling the game live, well not live, but during real-time play, I thought knight at d5 was stronger. And the difference here being this knight is now hitting there, so king g8, you get another hit on the king. Knight d7 now becomes dangerous. Yeah, this is game over sort of stuff. Queen at g5 is a nice way. Yeah, knight d7 here. So maybe it's ed, and then that way knight d7 can't be played. Then you've got to watch bishop h6. Can't play king g8 now. You've got to stay on the black square. This is so sharp. Even here, pawn h6, king's forced here. And then you could try some trickery like this. But I think against queen h4, knight h5 is the saving grace. Defending f6. I'm not fond of queen h5. I think white would run out of pieces if it went that way. Maybe black had just enough there. But look, okay, I went a long way into this. I'm going to have to go on with the next matches because there's more matches to be played. But yeah, I just felt that black allowed a little bit too much by playing this move straight away. I think rook at h5. Sorry, I think it's pawn at g2 I was talking about. I think it's rook at h5. That's an improvement. Okay, but Luft still played very well. I mean, that's a fascinating game. I got to go on. So, what's the scoreline here? Where I've lost track a little bit. Just bear with me a moment. I think that's 3-all, guys. Let me just confirm. Yeah, that's 3-all at the moment. And I've already been talking about an hour, so yeah, close match. Let's go to the next one. Okay, we're going to the French again. Same opening. It seems like Luft is still hesitant on knight g5 because I think Bugzilla is getting good positions out of this opening. I think knight g5 is fine, but in a match it's going to kind of play on your mind, you know, at what point should I deviate? So in fact, Luft has deviated quite early here. I don't mind this for black. I think rook g8 and black's got play on d4. Yeah, it's still a game from here. I think bishop. Yeah, this is. You know, I just feel like black's got some targets for white, and white doesn't have as many targets on black. And you can tell Luft is already thinking here. Wow, d5. He's already saying, I don't like the queen coming to d5. Played a gambit. Ah, well, okay. So knight f6 is the idea. And that's a great move from Luft. I mean, that's really insightful because d4 is actually a target for black. So in doing this, he gets rid of the target and he also starts to open up the position in his favor. Now, Bugzilla nicely developing the bishop here and avoiding the trade. Oh, I can see someone coming down the hallway. Hey, Belle. How you going? Hey, what have you got there? You alright? Do you need a cuddle? Yeah, okay. You sleep alright? You look like you just woke up. Your hair's a mess. Alright. Yeah, okay. Alright. Okay, alright. Guys, what I might actually do here is I'm gonna pause pause the play. I'm just gonna take care of my daughter for a moment. I'm gonna pause the video there. This will be the end of part 1. I will make a part 2 of this series given how long I'm talking about it. So I'll see you guys soon.